All right, fifth grade, happy Tuesday. Today what you're going to do is you're going to copy down everything that I do today. We are going to take what we learned yesterday about plot. We're going to start putting that into a plot diagram. Okay, so the first thing we need to do today is answer the question, what is plot? So we did yesterday, and remember that plot is the sequence of events in a story. All right, that's the plot. So plot is just all of the events, all of the things that happen inside of a story. Okay? And the way that we figure that out, and the way that we really jot down what are the events that happen in a story, how do we determine what is the plot? We use this nice diagram here. Okay, so I showed you this diagram yesterday. We talked about all the different parts here. We talked about the exposition, we talked about the climax, the resolution. Now we're going to talk about the rising action and the falling action today, and we're going to put all of this into a little plot diagram. So what is a plot diagram? Here's what you're going to type. So we're going to say how we organize the plot. Okay, so a plot diagram is how we organize the plot. That's all. Okay, so we have all of the events in a story, and this is the way that we organize all of the events in a story into a nice, put together, organized way. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to do practice two different ways. We're going to look at a short story, then we will look at a video. Okay, so short story, here we go. Mikhail was beyond excited. He and Andre would finally get to go camping in Cook's Forest. We've had this planned for 3 months. I can't believe it's almost here, Mikhail told his dad. Mikhail went to bed that night dreaming of hiking, fishing, and campfires. He jumped out of bed the next morning and flew downstairs for breakfast. Andre's dad called about an hour ago, said his mom. Andre hurt his ankle late last night and has to cancel the camping trip. At first, Mikhail's heart sank, but then he had an idea. Maybe I could go over to Andre's house and spend the day with him. We could play video games and eat snacks all day. His parents thought it was an excellent idea, so Mikhail called and posed the idea to Andre. Andre was relieved that his friend wasn't upset with him and told him to come on over. We'll go camping eventually. Until then, let's play some video games. Okay, so what we're going to do is down here on this next slide, I have made a plot diagram for you. It's not perfect. It's a little bit broken up here in a couple places, but we're going to go through this today, and we are going to decide what are the different parts of the plot here. Okay. So what we're going to say here for setting and characters, for the exposition, remember the exposition is the beginning. So here in the beginning, what we know is we have Mikhail and Andre. That's the characters. So Mikhail, we have Mikhail and Andre. In the setting, we will say Mikhail's house. He's with his parents. Okay. Mikhail's house. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to skip here. We're going to go to the climax, the most intense part of the story, the moment of the story where it's kind of the high point, right? Where there's the most excitement, drama, maybe the most, we're going to say maybe where the good idea happens. Okay, so in this story here, the climax is Mikhail decides to go see Andre and hang out with him. Right? So that's the climax. That's the most important part of the story here. Okay, it's kind of where we turn the corner, kind of get some bad news, but Mikhail decides to make a good choice and go hang out with him anyways. So now what we're going to do is we are going to go backwards What is the thing that happened right before that? That happened right before Mikhail decides to go see Andrei and hang out with him. Well, it's interesting. I thought they were going to go camping. So what happened in the rising action here? So the rising action is just kind of what is happening after the beginning, after the exposition, before our most important thing happens, the most intense, exciting part of the story here. Okay, the thing before is Andrei calls to say he hurt his ankle and he can't go camping. Okay, so here's kind of how the story worked, right? So we got the exposition here. This is the beginning. Then we have the rising action. Andrei calls to say he hurt his ankle and he can't go camping. Then what happens is Mikhail decides he's going to go see Andrei and hang out with him. Okay, so now what happens after the climax here? It's not as exciting. It's going to start to, we're going to lose a little bit of drama, a little bit of excitement. All right, so we'll see here. Andrei was relieved that his friend wasn't upset with him and told him to come over. Okay, so now following action. Andrei told Mikhail to come over. Okay. So far what we have is we have the beginning. Who were the characters? Where is the setting in the story here? What happens right after the beginning? Okay, we find out that Andrei calls to say he hurt his ankle and he can't go camping. The climax is the most intense, kind of the turning point of the story. Mikhail takes this bad news and decides, you know what? I'm going to go see him and I'm going to hang out with him anyways. Okay. Then the falling action starts to get a little bit less intense. Andrei says, hey, Mikhail, come on over. Now the resolution is, how does the story end? Okay. Look back here in the last sentence. We'll go camping eventually. Until then, let's play some video games. Right, so the resolution, how the story ends. Mikhail and Andrei play video games. Right. Mikhail and Andrei play video games and decide to go camping another time. Alright, that's how they end the story here. That is the resolution. How does the story end? Okay, so the story ends, Mikhail and Andrei play video games and decide to go camping another time. Okay, so what we have done is we have taken this story right here. We have taken out all of the fluff, all of the extra stuff, all of the dialogue, what people are saying. We have broken it down into here is exactly what happened, right? Here's the beginning, setting, Mikhail's house, characters, Mikhail and Andrei. What happens is Andrei calls to say he hurt his ankle, can't go camping. Climax, Mikhail decides, you know what? Forget about it. I'm going to go see Andrei and hang out with him. Andrei tells Mikhail, come on over. And Mikhail and Andrei play video games and decide to go camping another time. This is the story, this plot diagram here. This is the exact same story, just broken down. All right, we have all of this fluff here. We don't need all of this. This broke it down, made it a lot more simple. Okay, we still have the same story, just simple. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do today for the last thing, I put a video here. This is called Mike's New Car. It's Mike Wazowski and Sully from Monsters Inc. What I want you to do is I want you to do your best in taking this video and putting it in this plot diagram here. Tell me the exposition. Where is it taking place? Who are the characters? What happens right after the beginning? What do you think is the climax, the most intense and important part of the story? What happens after that? And then how does the story end? Okay? I am here to help you today. If you have any questions, I will give you a little bit of time once we're done with our meets today to help you out with this one if you need it. Okay? Just make sure you let me know if you have any questions.